Alright, what is up, fellow gamers? This is Just an Average Tree. I have never done a tutorial before, but from the recommendation slash suggestion of someone else, I was told I should make one. I had just made one, but it wasn't recording apparently. So, we're gonna do this again. I think my first one didn't go very well in terms of conveying information. I hope this one goes a bit better. So let's do this. So today we are going to be learning about data stores on Roblox, and I don't mean the, oh, you put the thing in the leader sets and you have the essay when you load back. No. We're professionals here. We are using arrays today, and we're going to be making sure all of these arrays are in a single script. This is big boy scripting. We're in the big league now. We're doing this for real. And I am making sure that this is still recording. It is still recording. That means that I have not wasted my time like I did before. But anyways, I am going to be teaching you basically a template for how you should save your data in a way where if you wanted to do anything to it in the future, you wanted to make an inventory system and you wanted to make sure every single variable you wanted to save saves in it, well then, this is it for you. This is where you want to be, I would think anyways. Now, disclaimer, this is the way I do it. If you meet someone who says, nah, this tutorial sucks, this is the real way we do it, then obviously make an educated opinion. I personally think this is the way it should be done. I know there are a lot of holes here in information, especially towards the end of the tutorials. You will see where it gets a bit more into how Roblox handles data rather than the script itself, but we're not going to worry about that. We are going to worry about this empty canvas in front of us, which we are going to paint with the knowledge of data stores. So, what we're going to start with, we're going to start by declaring our services. Now, I will say, I do need you guys to have some prereq knowledge of how coding works. If you can't print hello world, or if that's the only thing you can do, then this might not be the tutorial for you. I'm going to make sure, yeah. So, I would say, before you watch the tutorial, go on to the Roblox wiki, look up data store API, click the link you see and read, and make sure that you at least have a basic understanding of how the functions work. I'm going to be trying to go over them, but I may by accident, because again I'm new to this, I may by accident gloss over some stuff. If I do, tell me, but in any case, having prereq knowledge is going to help you a lot here. So if you don't know something, then you can go look it up quickly. You can leave a comment asking me what it is, and I'll happily explain it to you. But either way, we're going to get back to this. So we're going to have local players equals game.players, except if you're running this in a server script and it's in the game, then you would want to do game get service players, just to assure everything runs perfectly. I'm sorry. So from here, we're going to declare the data store service stuff. So we are now going to have local data service. If I could type data service equals game get service data store service. Now this, put it simply, is the service that runs data stores. Magical, I know. After this, we are going to have the get data store function. So this is where I'll explain a bit. It isn't a big deal. Don't think too much about it. Player data equals game. No, my bad. Data service get data store player data and player data. So basically what this is I am saving all of my player data in this box here called player data, which is a get data store inside data service. So the reason you would want to specify is, let's say one day I'm like, oh, I want to have building, but I don't have enough memory, as in, you know what memory is. I don't have enough, basically, I have too much data already in player data. I need to have some in another data source. So then you could have building data or something like that. But don't think too hard about this. As long as you have this, you're fine. So now I'm going to declare some variables. What I'm going to have here, again, sorry, I'm going to be coughing a bit. What I have here is local server data, and it's going to equal an empty array. This is going to be used for every time a player joins the game, their server data, or the data they have in their data store, is going to be put into the server data. Then when they leave the game, it's going to be taken out. So, now, Control V. This is a function I have for when we're going to test out the data stores, and I'm going to make sure that they work. This is a function that will be used for printing the table and making sure that the data has saved. You'll see later, but again, this is all going to be in the description. I'll have a link to Pastebin or GitHub or something where you can use it, but don't worry about it for now. So after this, we're going to get into the data stuff now, finally. So what we're going to start with is a local function, and this is going to be new data. Basically, this is going to be whenever we call this function, it is going to give us the template for what our data is. If you are an object-oriented programmer, you can think of this as like a class or a abstract. Never mind. If you have that knowledge, you're not watching this tutorial. So what this is going to do, this is going to be giving us a template of whatever data we want. So I'm going to give us a very basic example. I'm going to do coins equals 10 store. I'm going to do stars equals 5. Then I'm going to have stats. And I'm going to put another array in this because I want to show you that the idea of this is that you can do this. It's not like, oh, I can't have an array in my array. No, you can do that. You can have arrays in your arrays and arrays. As long as it's in this one main array, it'll save. So I'll have speed equals 16, and then jump equals 50. Perfect. So, okay. Now after this, I'm going to make two functions. Local function, load data, and I'm going to use P. P is going to be my argument for player. So whenever you see me use P in the parameter, that's going to be player. So local function, load data, and local function, save data. And now after this, I am going to do this, where I will have players, player added, connect, function, and then P being player, and it's going to do load data P. And then I'm going to have players dot player removing connect function P. And what's this going to do? Well, it's going to save the data for the player. Okay. So now, shush. Now with that set up, we're going to go to the functions themselves and start filling them in. So load data. Now, I'm going to tackle something here called a P call. I am going to assume that you know how to use this, and even then I'm still going to be reassuring and make sure you know how to use it. So that's just my funny way of saying I'm going to gloss over it, and I hope you understand. So I'm going to have local data. I'm going to have local success error equals P call function, and you know, I'll explain this a bit because I don't expect you to know how this works, because some people don't. So basically, put it simply, success. All right. Let me put this in first. I'm going to do data equals player data get async, and then I'm going to do data. That's going to be the key. So, all right, what we did here basically, a p call is, you know, when you're running a script and then like, oh, you have a typo, so it gives you an error, and then because you have an error there, it's not going to continue running the rest of the script, and then everything sucks. Well, this basically captures the error, and instead of just stopping the script, it's going to still continue, and we have even some data on what happened in here. So inside here, we have the data. Well, in here, we have a command where we set the data equal to whatever data we can get from the Roblox servers. So let's say the Roblox servers are down. Well then, when the Roblox servers are down, you're going to get an error when this happens, and it's going to be an error that stops the script. And obviously, you don't want that. You want your script to continue, and if there's an error, then maybe it can even tell you what's happening. So that's what we're going to do right now. So we have this thing called success here. This is basically a Boolean value, where if it's true, then that means this succeeded, but if it's not true, that means something went wrong. So I'm going to write a scenario for if something went wrong. So what I have here is if I can spell, if not success, then, and what is it going to do? It's going to warn, which for those of you who don't know, this is a print, but it basically looks fancy, and yeah. Warn, and it's going to be it's yellow. That's the only thing. It's print, but it's yellow. I know, big. But yeah, it's going to warn could not get data for, and then p.name. And then it's going to return. So what this does basically is this will ensure that if something goes wrong on Roblox's end, it's not going to affect us. It's just going to say, okay, something went wrong, nothing we can do about it. Just end this function and give the warning that, okay, we couldn't do it. Here you could also do something where it sends the player message saying, hey, your data didn't load. But we don't need that. If you want to do that, go for it. Okay, so from here, we can conclude from this that data is now equal to the data that was saved in the player data. However, we have to take into account, what if the player just joined the server for the first time? They're a newbie. They've never played this game before. They're entering. They don't know what they're doing, but they enter, and they don't have any data. So that means, again, if you read the wiki, you would know that that means if they join the server for the first time, then this here is going to return nil, because it's going to basically look for the data, and it's going to say, all right, here's what we found. We found nothing. Data equals nothing. So in the case that it equals nothing, which would be every player's case for the first time, we would do if not data, then, which means there's no data here, we're going to do data equals new data. So what we're doing here is, let's say a player enters the game for the first time. Well, we want their data to be this, new data, which is the data template we have with all the info we want for our data store. So basically everything in here, this isn't a lot, but if you put a lot in it, everything in there would then save as the data. And the idea is that everything in here can be loaded, saved, loaded again, and it wouldn't have any complications that you might have from doing leader stats or, again, just doing confusing stuff. So, alright, from here, anyways, we have this. And so now I'm going to do, remember that server data array I made? Well, this is the point of it. We're going to do server data p equals, as in player, server data player equals their data. Now, I understand that right now you may be asking yourself, why put it in here? What's the point? And the point is because chances are, if you're looking at this tutorial, there's a chance that one reason you're looking at this tutorial is because you're having issues where you make your data and you put it here, but you're like, now what do I do with the data? Why does it matter? How does the player use it? This is the solution to that. The server data thing we have here. Because basically what we're doing is we have taken this and we have stored whatever the player's data is in server data. And basically what we're going to do is anything that happens to the player's data in server data, that's going to be what saves. So, and we're going to see this with save data, which I will start now. So, first we want to make sure that, well, first we just want to do a safety check, which would be if server data p, then. Because, let's say for some weird reason, the player joined and this didn't happen. Who knows? Chances are it won't happen, but just in case, right? Always just in case. So, what we want to do now is from here, we want to save whatever data the player has stored in the server data array. So, we're going to do, again, we're going to do a p call, and this is going to be local success error equals p call function, and then it's going to be player data set async. And we're going to do, we want to make sure the key is the same from up here. We're going to save in the data store under the player's key here, and then we're going to save the data. And the data we're going to save is going to be the data we found, as in the data we've had stored. That's what I should have said. So, and again, we're doing if not success, for whatever reason this doesn't work, then we just want to warn data wasn't saved, and then data wasn't saved for, again, only professional habits here. There, perfect. Then we're going to return. But anyways, so now we have from here, so we save the data, and from here, so the data saved, and this, when we save the data, in our cases, because when we save the data, that means that the player left the server, then we no longer want his data in the server, because otherwise that would just leave up space and make things lag or cause a memory leak. So what we're going to do is we're going to do, after this, server data p equals nil. So let's just recap everything we've done so far. So, I'm a new player. I've joined the game for the first time. I've never played this before. So, I join the game. It's going to run load data, which goes here. From load data, it's going to attempt to get my data with my user ID, obviously, and it's going to say, if it finds my data, then, if it finds my data, then it's going to set the server data to that. If it doesn't, then it's going to set my data to whatever the data template is. And that's done. So now what we need to think is, from here, the player's in the game, they're doing their stuff in the game, and now you're like, alright, a round just ended, and I want to give the player 10 points, right? So how would I do that? Well, what you would do is I am going to let you make your own examples, but I'm going to basically tell you what it'll do. So, if you have a round end, and you're like, I want to give the player 10 coins, then you, in your own way, would want to go into the script and do server data. It would be server data, and then p, assuming you have the player, coins equals server data p dot coins plus 5. So you have that. And then, so the game has gone on. The player has gained coins or something. Maybe they even gained some stars on the way because they were a good boy. Now they leave the game after playing, and it runs save data. And so save data says the player was in the server. So now take all the data that they have had in the game and save it. Save that whole array under their key here. And it'll do just that. And then it's like, all right, we saved him. So now, no longer do we need to have the data in the server anymore because we just saved it. So now just set that to nil for the server, and now the player is gone, and that was his user experience. He joined the game, played it for a bit, his data saved, he left, and now on to live his life somewhere. So I do actually want to give you an example of how you could access server data. So let's say I'm going to assume you know what _G is. If not, I'm going to show you it very quickly. So I'm going to do, okay, local function add 5 coins for player. And I'm going to do p as my argument, of course, and it's going to be server data p dot coins equals server data p dot coins plus 5. And so let's say, I don't know, I'm in another script and I'm like, I want to give the player 5 points. Then what I would do, we don't need this, I'm just talking about it. What we would do is we could do this numerous ways. We could have a bindable event. We could have use _G, which if you don't know, _G dot this equals function. If you don't understand what _G is, I recommend learning it. I used it all the time when I first started scripting, and it's still useful. But basically this means we could then run this function from anywhere in the server. So let's say a round ends in one script, and we're like, all right, now give everyone coins. So it loops through the players, gives them 5 coins, and now all the players in the server have added 5 coins into their server data, and when they leave, it'll save it. So this is exactly what we wanted to achieve here. So with this done, so okay, I just said that's everything we want to achieve here, so that means everything is golden, right? Unfortunately, there are some things that we, as obviously very, very professional Robloxian developers, I hate that term, Robloxian developers, and I never want to use it again. Just we'll just say developers. We have to deal with some stuff. As we all know, Roblox can be a bit finicky at times. So one thing is the way servers close on Roblox. So I'm going to type this out for you, and I'm going to explain to you what we're doing here. I'm going to do game bind to close, and I'm going to do function. This will basically say, well, first I'll explain to you the predicament we're in. There are some occasions where the Roblox server will close on us, and it'll close on us, and it'll say, okay, we just closed the server, and it's like, well, did you remove all the players from the server? Nope, we just closed the server. So what does that mean? Well, that means for us that unfortunately this isn't going to run, and that means anyone in the server, their data is not going to get saved. So what we're going to do here is, let's say the server closes, we're going to do for IP in pairs players get children do, and we're going to do save data and then p, as in it saves the data for the player. Very, very simple. Now, there's one other thing we have to consider, and again, this is a rare scenario where if it was not past 1 a.m., I would be able to explain it to you much more coherently. But to put it simply, let's say the server closes and this runs for whatever reason. We'll save data, and just to make you aware, this is an issue that will commonly happen in Play Solo. I actually think we could see the issue in now if we did Play Solo. where I join and I misspell get service because I can't spell anything. And I go here and I go to line 4 and I make this right. Boop. Okay. No. Boop. There we go. Alright. Play solo. And so I'm in the server, the data stuff is happening behind the scenes, and yeah, we're all good. Now I stop the server. Okay, see, the issue didn't happen there, but this is an issue that in my other places I've had many issues with. As for why it happens, not sure. It very much seems to be random at times. And basically you'll know this happens when the server stalls, or I should say the game stalls, and basically it'll take like 10 seconds for the actual, like when you press stop button, it'll take 10 seconds for it to actually stop, and then when it finally does stop, it'll like have an error here with like saying that like the error ran 300 times or whatever. This was an issue for a while. Like they made a big change, like I think 2 months ago relative to when this tutorial was recorded, and it screwed some people over for a bit unless they changed it. But anyways, that's enough story time. Back to how we are going to prevent this in case it ever does happen. We are going to go back to our variables, and we are going to make local saving for, and it's going to be equal to an empty array. And this is a very simple concept to a very weird issue where we're just going to say if not saving for p, then I want this all to be in that. I have a feeling it's going to add an end for me when I don't want it. Oh, it didn't. There we go. So it's going to do saving for p equals true. It's going to run everything, and then it's going to do saving for p equals nil. So basically, to just simplify this, what we do here is for the save data, if the player is already saving, then don't save it again. That's all it does. If the player is saving, then make sure, or I should explain that better. When the player is saving, if they are not already saving, we put a check-in to say, okay, the player is saving, make sure this doesn't repeat. It runs the code, and then once it's run the code, it's like, all right, the player is saved, saving for equals nil. And this will just make sure while this is running, it won't accidentally run again for whatever reason. So this is everything. I'm going to publish it. And I'm going to prove to you that this works. So what I have, if you remember that I have that print table function, I'm going to do, well, first I'm going to, as you can see, we have the default coins equals 10. I'm first going to give it some coins. I'm going to do server data, and it's going to be p dot coins equals server data dot p dot coins plus 5. And so what you can say here is, all right, when we load the data, we run this function, it sets up all the stuff in server data. So now that that exists, we can then manipulate it. So now with this, I then want to print the fact that this has happened. So I'm going to do print table server data p, p. And so what this will do, sorry. So I'm going to show you that this works in the most important way, which is that it works here. So I'm going to play it, and it is going to connect, which may or may not take some time. I have not had water in a while, so my voice is becoming hoarse, so I'm sorry about that. It is connecting, as you can see, because you have eyeballs. I really hope I'm still recording and I didn't mess up again. That is still recording. This is a long tutorial, I'm very sorry. But, hey, that's life. You learn with time. Okay, so I've joined the game. I'm going to press F9. I'm going to use the server log, and as we can see, coins equals 15. Why does it equal 15? Because it was originally 10. Then we added 5 coins, and then we printed it to where we see the status that we have 15 coins. So now I am going to leave the game. What that should have done is it should have taken everything that was in the server data, which was the data in which we added plus 5 coins to, and save that. So now I'm going to play, and this will connect again. Eventually. Sorry, this is taking a while. This eventually happens. As you saw before, there we go. So, if we've done everything right, then the coins code should have ran again, and it should have added 5 to our 15 coins we had before to total to 20. Press F9, go to server, and we have 20. So there you go. That is everything working. That is all of this code working that we've written today. So that's all I have to give you today. So obviously, I hope you learned something. I understand that, again, I am new to tutorials, so if you, for whatever reason, need to ask me a question, you can message me directly at JustAnAverageTree. You can leave a comment on this video if I post it on YouTube, which I think I will. Again, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. I am planning after this to do some more complicated tutorials, so one on game security and making sure you have a secure game and preventing exploiters. But that's all for now. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you around.